Out of all the sports teams that exist, certain countries have a big one or two, but we're proud to say our podcast is about the biggest team in the entire world.
And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
Yeah! This is the World's Team Podcast. All about the world's team, the Dallas Cowboys, baby. We're here to redefine what it means to be a fan of the gridiron game. It's not just America's team anymore. Nope. We're taking that star-studded pride and spreading it across the globe. Each week, we dive into all things Cowboys. From game analysis that'll have you on the edge of your seat, to reactions and all the latest news. Whether it's free agency frenzy, draft day drama, or injury reports that make us want to hug our lucky jerseys a little tighter. We're bringing in fan groups from all over the place, from Germany, France, Brazil, the UK, Canada, Japan. Everybody gets to share their 2 cents on America's favorite team.
Here we go!
America's team, Mexico's team, world's team, my Dallas Cowboys.
And now your hosts, Paul Stewart and Mike Poland.
Hello, Cowboys Nation. It is the 28th of December. We hope you had a wonderful Christmas. Time to get back in that saddle and talk about some Cowboys football. But yes, welcome to another episode of the World's Team. Not just America's team, but the World's Team. I am your host, Paul Stewart. And as always, I am joined by my brother in arms, Mr. Mike Poland. How we doing, bro?
Yeah, good, man. Good. Burnt off the excess alcohol. First day clean since Christmas Day. That's all about to change again because New Year's is coming. But did Santa deliver anything nice for you this year?
I'll be honest with you, dude. I didn't really ask for Santa for anything. I did get a new bathroom suite. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, but other than that, I just said to my parents, I just want a Christmas dinner. That's all I wanted. I don't really I'm not really one for presents anymore.
Yeah.
So like as you get older, it's all for the kids. End of the day,
Exactly.
It's like you want to make it special for the kids. So, but other than that, it was nice and quiet. My dog Arnie had an absolute feast, so he did. So he was eating all the pigs and blankets and.
Nice.
So it was all good, man. All good. How about yourself?
My boy, he had a PlayStation 5 for Christmas, so me and him were playing Fortnite all day.
Nice.
His Christmas was my Christmas.
Well, I don't know if you can see the mark on my eye right now. Like Arnie gave me a big massive headbutt last week, and that's it really starting to calm down a little bit. So yeah, I've got a nice little shiner from my dog. Because I was trying to contain his excitement because one of my relatives were coming over to visit, and he was just getting so excited, and he was trying to escape and just went whack right across my eye. So, yep, that's that. But yes, folks, it is the pregame show against the goddamn Philadelphia Eagles, who are currently 12-3. At the moment, and obviously the Cowboys are 7-8 after the win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The game will kick off at 6 p.m. here in the UK, 7 p.m. if you're in Europe, and 12 p.m. Central Time if you're in Texas. So it'll be a fair bit to cover, but I guess the first thing we do need to address is like we are officially out.
Yes.
We are officially out of any talk about the playoffs. We can actually fully focus on next year. And obviously, we will dive into the injury report and news and kind of give you why we're kind of already focusing on next year. But before we do that, let's go and recap what we thought about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, because that was a bit of a crazy ending, Mike.
Yeah, the crazy ending. But what was good... The ending, I mean, we'll talk about the ending, but what was good was how the defense generally played throughout that game. It was a defense. Like, people keep throwing stats at me because I do defend Dak because he does need defending at the moment. But a lot of people keep throwing stats at me at Cooper Rush. And I've said this, that there's an old scouting saying that, if you want to find the best backup quarterback, just have a solid defense. And that is what we saw against the Buccaneers. Defensive all-round game. Defensive line played incredibly. Defensive backs had a good game. And that is how the end was defined, with finally Deron Bland sealing the deal, if you like. Left a bit on the clock where Baker Mayfield could have sealed that game, really, for the Buccaneers. But no, Deron Bland had better ideas. But that one, for me, wasn't even the play of the game. The play of the game was the Jordan Lewis interception.
Yes, I was just about to mention that Jordan Lewis stepped the hell up in that game. Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me. But yeah, Jordan Lewis, I generally thought it was a touchdown for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but no, the person that came out with the ball was Jordan Lewis. And what a play it was. And we've been talking about Jordan Lewis all the way through like preseason training camp. He's looking the best he's ever been in a Cowboys uniform. And we're seeing some of the results of that now. And I know we keep saying week by week now, regards to the defense is now clicking and stuff like that. It does kind of beg the question. It's like, okay, is it now really worth asking the question? Is it worth bringing Mike Zimmer back? Because the players are finally really starting to understand the scheme, how the way is supposed to work under Mike Zimmer. And we're actually seeing a lot of good results from Carl Lawson, Bland, Jordan Lewis, you name it. Like
Chauncey Golston.
Chauncey Golston. Yeah, he had a great game as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But no, all of them. I mean, even Maurice Liafu again had another good game. He's now become just this defensive playmaker, kind of like what Donovan Wilson has been for the Cowboys. You just got this guy that whenever he's the spearhead, or not the spearhead, but when he's the primary defender in that particular play, it ends up becoming a turnover or a really bad negative play or a random sack. He's really, I would say, in the last month, turned it on. DeMarvion Overshown has the unfortunate injury, but Leaford managed to, step into the limelight and take it on and become this incredible guy.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. I mean, I'm just looking at the stats from last week. Excuse me. And the biggest surprise for me is Nick Vigil. He was the leading tackler for our defense that game.
Yeah.
10 total tackles, 5 solo tackles. Then it was Bland with 8 total tackles, with 7 of those being solo. But looking at the statistics here, Golston with a sack, Michael Parsons with a sack, Donovan Wilson with a sack, and Linval Joseph with a sack. So, not like it's been the majority of our interior D line, because Golston was pretty much playing as a free tech in that game. So it shows that our ability to actually penetrate through the middle of the offensive line is starting to really come out now. And I hope this may continue going forward. And this is what I keep saying. It's like, if we do decide to kind of move away from Mike McCarthy or Mike Zimmer or whatever in that, then it's kind of going back to a reset button. It's like, at least I think there's going to be some type of foundation next year. Like, if you were to bring back McCarthy and Zimmer back, give them the full investment of bringing in players that they want, rather than what we did just there this off season, which was just only bringing in Eric Kendricks essentially. That's just not enough. We need to do more. The front office should be aware that we need to do more to provide the type of players that our coaching staff needs to help build this football team to take it up to the next level. So I think that it's been a bit of an eye-opener as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's also a lot of the starters we lost. We didn't have Deron Bland for a lot of it. We lost Trayvon Diggs. We lost Marvin Overshow. We lost DeMarcus Lawrence.
Parsons for a bit.
We lost Parsons for a period of time. And you lose all these starters, and you have to go through the rotation pieces. You have to have these other guys come in and show you what they can do. And some of them are starting to click with it. So it is quite interesting. The issue being, of course, though, is, a lot of them are going to be, their contracts are ending. Osa's the big one. I mean, we'll get to that later when you get to the would you rather.
Well, we did cover that quite a lot last week.
Yeah, we
but
did,
yeah. But just to kind of recap on it, we are going to be having some tough decisions because obviously with Micah Parsons coming up for a new contract, etc., which we did speak about that last week as well. But the question is, and this is not just us saying it, we've got a Mark Holmes, aka Cowboy Joe Boo. He made a whole stream about it the other day there. We've got, like I said, J-Tuck making comments about it. It's like, what do we do? Like, do we try and bring back Osa? Can we afford to bring him back? That's the question. Can we afford to do it? So
that is what it is. Yeah,
that's the main question. So we just have to kind of wait and see. But I mean, Osa did have a more quieter game this week, so it might kind of work in our favor. We might work out something. Who knows? Osa might sit there and it's like, I don't see myself playing anywhere else like that, but Dallas, because he might be happy here.
It happens, yeah.
Because when you think about it, when some players go to other teams, like especially in California or New York, you're going to get taxed as hell. Like, and some players don't want that. Like, you might be earning a lot more, but you're going to be actually receiving a lot less because more of your salary is going to go to the tax man. Whereas in Texas, you don't have that issue.
Yeah, you do have to play those factors. And family comes into it as well, and all these other factors. The big one, of course, is that it needs to be a case, though, that, and we've seen this many times before, Jerry Jones, especially with Osa and Micah and a couple of other guys as well, they just don't want to be messing around with these like they do, where they drag them out and they make comments in the press, and then it swings back the other way. Just don't do that. Just get in nice and early, get the contract done. If not, go to the meeting and say, no, we're moving on. Just do that.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, I can't remember the name of the magazine, but I thought it was like, and this was one of the main publications in Dallas, really having a right dig at Jerry Jones. On the front cover, they basically turned Jerry Jones into a shape of a football going over the field goal.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it was, I need to find it now. I think it was Mike Leslie that actually posted it, actually. But while I'm looking for that, Mike, please just give us a wee introduction to the latest news and injury report.
Yeah, so I mean, we've got some big ones. Let's talk about the big ones to start off with. The Cowboys in the middle of the week, just around Christmas time, on Christmas Day, they announced CeeDee Lamb is done. He's out for the season. AC shoulder joint. He has been struggling with it. If you remember, there was the game, I believe, Atlanta, and he was struggling, landed on his shoulder, players jumping on him. You could see him wincing, rubbing the shoulder. Last week, he exited the game against the Buccaneers for a short period of time. This week, they announced, no, that's it. Everybody, he's done, shut down. I mean, as you mentioned at the start of the show, Paul, Cowboys are out of the playoffs. So if you've got a player that is like CeeDee Lamb, that is such a focal point of your offense, and you're not really playing for the playoffs, then it's actually a double-edged sword when you think about it. So now you get to see what this offense is like without CeeDee Lamb. You get other guys to come in and show what they've got and what they can do. And on the other bonus of that is CeeDee Lamb gets to rest that shoulder and the rest of his body and recover fresh, ready for next season.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it makes sense, but at the same time, like, well, not at the same time, but you can understand why we did it. What's the point sending CeeDee Lamb out for 2 games when there's nothing really much else to like achieve in a way where we can affect our chances to make the playoffs because we're out? And the only thing we can do is obviously kind of ruin the seedings essentially for the Eagles and the Buccaneers, who are both likely going to make the playoffs. So that's the only thing. But is it really kind of that worth it? Is it really kind of just worth it? Rest in CeeDee Lamb and just think towards next year. And I think that's the main focus now, is like what we're going to do for next year and see what guys is worth bringing back for next year. Like say your Virgils, your Osas, etc. Like all these guys. Carl Lawson, I think we should try and bring back in a heartbeat. I really do. But
Yeah,
we just need to wait.
be good.
Yeah, we just have to wait and see. But I do actually have the magazine cover for the Texas Monthly, and it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So, without further ado, so the Texas Monthly released this: the bum steer of the year. You finally won something, Jerry, and I don't know if you can see down at the very bottom there with the cheerleaders to say we want a real GM. That's a kick in the teeth for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm just not really paying attention to the comments because they can be quite brutal. But yeah, that when the main publications in Texas post something like that, that's when you know you're not doing a really great job this year. So
Yeah.
so hopefully that might be on board. Jerry will take that on board. It's like, yeah, okay, right. I see what you mean. I did not do the best of my job. I know I said all that crazy stuff being all in, but we technically weren't. Blah 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 blah. But now, okay, me and Stephen are going to get back to work and try and figure this out and see if we can try and be more contenders than pretenders.
Yeah, we wait and see. With him, I don't think he cares what anyone thinks. It's his Dallas Cowboys. It's his money.
As long as well, at the end of the day, I'm sure Jerry does care because he does want a nice Super Bowl. He does. We all know
I don't mean that. Yeah, but he just doesn't care what people say or they think. He just doesn't.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, no, I agree.
But going back to the injuries, we got two other players who are out this week. Two cornerbacks, Keeman Hall and Amani Awarie. So that's going to be interesting. TJ Bash is also doubtful to play with a leg injury. And we got quite a list of questionables here. So get ready for this. We got Jalen Brooks, Chuma Adoga, Eric Kendricks, Asim Richards, who I very much doubt will play. He was on injured reserve and they've designated him to return. Jalen Talbot, Nick Vigil, as you mentioned, and Donovan Wilson.
Essentially, half the team are really
a lot of the team. Yeah. So
at this point, we might as well just recruit some kids from some local colleges or something like that. Just like get some kids from North Texas, me and Greeners, just to jump in for one game. Who knows? I know it's unlikely to do that, but joking aside, it's not great. It's been our Achilles heel all year, is injuries. It really has.
I wrote in I believe it was the mailbag for Blogging Boys this week. They asked a question, and I said this, that what it's about resolutions, and I was like, how about we make a New Year's resolution to not have injuries anymore, something like that. And I was like, yeah. And in the comments, I was like, I can't quite remember a season where we've had injuries. We've had injury-riddled season, but never one where it's so many starters and all at the same time, and it just keeps going and going. Then you get CeeDee Lamb this week, and you're like, "There's another one," and it's like, really?
I know. Like, I find the only season I can in recent memory is the year where we lost Sean Lee, but other than that, it's just been like rotation players. Other than that, I think D-Law missed a part of that season as well. But other than that, but I've never seen the Cowboys being so hit with the injury bug more so than ever than this season. It's just mental. And the funny thing is, you've got teams like the Lions who go full out on practice, like they go all out, and they've barely been like they've not had any significant injuries compared to us. But we're being more conservative in terms of our practices. They kind of watch what we're doing and make sure we don't get injured. But somehow we do get injured. It's so weird.
Yeah, I mean, like we haven't had really we've had injuries in practices. Nothing like last year, Trayvon Diggs, or not last year, year before, and then Trayvon Diggs had the ACL injury in practice. We're like, what the hell is going on? And then more players were getting ACL injuries during practice. We haven't really had that. It's all been during games. And, unfortunately, if you want your players to fight hard, they will fight hard. But the end result is that injuries get more likely if you don't want to play soft. And that's how it's gone.
Yeah. But before we do move on to the Eagles pregame chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking at if there's one player I have to say that has really kind of stood out the past 2 weeks, it has been Donovan Wilson. That we've seen the emergence of Donovan Wilson that we're so used to seeing last year and these past 2 weeks. So it just kind of makes me question out. I know I keep repeating myself, but it's just really down to players finally understanding. I know it's too little, too late. It really is, because obviously we're at the playoffs, we're out of contention, we're now focused on next season. But it's stuff like that. It's like we're actually finally seeing players finally get into light bulb effect. I know what to do now. Click, boom, there's the hits. Like we're seeing Lauafu, etc. Like the whole majority of the defense, again, like I said, really showed up. But going into this game though, Mike, against I can't even bring it to say it. That those goddamn Philadelphia Eagle fans. The
team.
The team. I am. They annoy me so much. I'm stuttering. Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do we progress our defense to kind of like start, like, we want to get more questions about the team as we go into this offseason, because we want to see more of these positives and think about next year. So what do you see from, obviously kind of mentioned like the injury report, because we know that Jalen Hurts is going to be out for this game. How do we see our defense going to put the pressure on, like said, Kenny Pickett, if he is going to play? That might mean
because he's dealing with a rib injury. But both players sustained it last week against Washington. But I think with Kenny Pickett, so the issue for Dallas is Jalen Hurts being out doesn't affect really the passing game all that much, because Jalen Hurts this year, if you look at the passing stats amongst quarterbacks, he ranks like 20th in this passing stat, 21st in this, 23rd in that. It's not huge. When you read it, you're like, oh, where it comes down with Hurts is that the Eagles are the number one rushing team this year, which boils down to two things. Saquon Barkley, who's on the cusp of breaking the 2,000-yard mark for this season, in a season, which is an incredible benchmark. Like, that is insane production. And if you're a Giants fan, you've got to be seeing that.
Yeah, if you're a Giants fan, you must be absolutely fuming. It just comes to show, like, what are they doing with their offensive line for all these years to give?
Scheme matters.
Yeah, it really does. Like, it's another thing that we keep seeing here in the World Team. Is like players suit to a certain type of offense, certain type of style of offense, and that's where they flourish. It's different type of coaching, etc. It's all about the fit. And just because you're like the number one draft pick overall and you're going to one of the worst teams doesn't mean to see you're going to transform that franchise instantly. It doesn't work like that. Like, I mean, look at, like, if you take, for example, maybe like Lamar Jackson, he landed at his best spot. He really did. Like, and I think he's happy the fact that more he thinks about it, him getting pushed all the way back to like near the end of the first round and getting picked by Baltimore, it's the best thing that ever happened to him. Because if he was to get picked up by other teams later, like early on in the draft, we might be having this conversation of how good Lamar Jackson is.
No, it is true. It's scheme coaching, for running back, offensive line, which is a big thing for the Eagles. The Eagles do have, in terms of as an offensive line, as a pass blocking, in passing sets, they're not great. As a run blocking group, they are really good. All those guys, they all fit the ground game.
Yeah, they really bring that physicality to the run game. Like, And they did it for like Jalen Hurts when he was like running the run play option, etc. And it's taking the load off of like Jalen Hurts to try and not use his legs as much, and we're seeing that now with Saquon. So, if you were to give any credit to the Eagles, is how they established that run game, and it's all down to that offensive line for opening those gaps for Saquon. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, the way this alters slightly and what blurs the lines is that Jalen Hurts isn't in, as you say, right? Hurts leads the league amongst all running backs and quarterbacks in rushing touchdowns because he is a viable threat in the run game. So you have to account for him, which in turn helps Barkley because you've got to have a linebacker out the game just to cover Hurts because in case. You've just got to do it that way. He's gone. So now everything's all on what can the offensive line do? Can Saquon Barkley pick up the load? And the Dallas Cowboys this year haven't been extremely good at defending the run. But in the last 3 games, and this is why everything gets a bit blurry here. In the last 3 games, the Dallas Cowboys ranked 5th in fewest rush yards allowed, which is an incredible feat.
It's an incredible turnaround compared to like we had that 5-game losing streak where we were getting completely dominated off the field, getting beat by Houston, the Lions, San Francisco, you name it. Like I don't know what happened after Thanksgiving, but something just, like I said, just clicked. It really did.
Yeah, I mean, they've still. I think it's still for me the running game in general is still a weakness for this Cowboys defense.
I agree.
Yeah, they're definitely a team that is best as when they're pass rushing, it's game over. As a run defending team, so if they're playing from behind or it's a fairly close game, they're going to struggle because they can't stop that run. RPOs, another big weakness. Play action, another big weakness. Third down stop, they're stopping things on third down. A weakness because it's all about the run. They do struggle with that. But it gets a bit squirrely this week because if you said Jalen Hurts is in there, I'm going, it's game over. It's done. Don't worry about it.
And it's funny that you mentioned that with regards to the combination of Hurts and Barkley. You could see the exact same scenario. And I'm going back to Baltimore once again with Jackson and Derrick Henry. They're complementing each other. Like, where the RPOs, with the making more defenses having to think who's going to be rushing the ball. Is it going to be the quarterback or is it going to be the actual running back? So it's shown it's been quite an effective technique or effective strategy going forward this season for both of these teams. And we're seeing that and they're doing quite well. So, also, we've also got AJ Brown. He's likely to be playing this game as well. Yeah. He's over 1,000 yards this season. He's had a bit of a tough time last week, I thought, against Washington. But give me your thoughts on AJ Brown.
He is good. He is the clear number 1 wide receiver on that team. People talk a lot, especially Eagles fans, like, oh, AJ Brown's better than CeeDee Lamb. Okay, just stop. No, is the answer there. They're not that far apart, but CeeDee Lamb is better than Brown. Brown just is a different type of receiver, and there's a lot he can do on and off the ball. So he is a very, very clever and talented player. I like him. I've always liked him. I think he's kind of like not spoken about sometimes as much, but this year.
Sorry, mate. What did you say?
I think sometimes he's
no. Just before that, what did you say?
Say what?
You said you liked him.
I do like him. I do like him as a wide receiver. Yeah. Not as an Eagles player. Not as an Eagles player.
Okay, right. I just want to clarify that. Okay, right.
Yeah. He's an Eagles player, so I hate him. But but as a wide receiver, I think he is good. He is a good wide receiver. I do like what he can do. Devontae Smith, on the other hand, has this bit of a lull. So comes out at the start of this season, and things are on the up. And you think, oof, here we go. Here's that Heisman winning wide receiver everyone was talking about. The mid-season, it drops off. He has a game where he goes for -2 yards. That was his total. so there was this gap in the middle. It's kind of like perking back up a little bit, but still, you're hoping that, or you're not as Cowboys fans, you're hoping, but as football sort of guys that look at this, that he can try and bring things back up. But those two make a very good 1-2 punch, I think. So here's a question that I've got for you, right?
Okay. All right. Okay.
We're not going to see it this weekend, but just to put it in perspective, which is a better 1-2 punch for a wide receiver 1 and 2? AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, or
Mhm.
CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks?
It's tough to say if I'm being perfectly honest, because obviously we've not really seen all of Brandon Cooks this year. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I would say it's even, if I'm being honest, as of right
Mm,
now. As of
yeah.
right now, like if injuries and stuff like that never played any factor in the influence of how our wide receivers play, I would try and slightly give it to the Cowboys, but I would have to give it 50-50 right now, if I'm being perfectly
Yeah.
honest with you. I
Yeah.
refuse to give the Eagles any credit at all. That's just
No,
me,
but
but
I kind of see it that, and this is the way I've put it: 1-2, because of injuries and everything. I'll give it slightly. AJ Brown has missed timeline. I'll give it to the Eagles, but this is where I change things up. Right, I can change it up for you. Wide receiver 1 and 2, I'll give a slight edge to the Eagles. Wide receiver 1, 2, 3. Right, so you could do it any which way you want. I think the Cowboys have then it flips back the other way. So I think Cowboys have a better 1-2-3 punch than what the Eagles have, because Jahan Dotson has done nothing this year. I think he's got like 22
yeah,
sacks on the
yeah,
year.
that I agree with. And not just that, we've had like not even just the 1-2-3, but we've had like
You go
Tolbert.
4. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it could go 4 and 5 because you've got Tolbert,
Mm,
Turpin, and even Fornoy as well, who's a guy I am actually
yeah.
quite anticipating to have a big game this weekend. So
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, I definitely agree in that. If you're doing it as the whole wide receiver core,
Grouping.
then
Yeah.
the whole grouping of the wide receivers, then yeah, definitely Dallas, because we've actually shown a little bit more
Depth at the
variety,
position. Yeah, yeah.
depth and variety, and how to spread out the offense a little bit better. Whereas, in fairness to, well, not in fairness, but to the Eagles, they've just been too reliant on those two guys
Yeah,
too
that's what I
much.
mean.
Like
Yeah.
where the rest of the wide receiver group have not really kind of stepped up to the mark in comparison to what our whole group has done. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. The wide receivers for Dallas definitely takes it in that regard. But for the 1-2 combination, it's 50-50. But as a whole group, definitely Dallas.
Yeah. And then, but here's another one, right? Is we're talking about that. CeeDee Lamb is gone. And here's my next question on wide receivers, Paul. With CeeDee Lamb gone, do you play it safe and say, right, let's get Talbot in here. We've got Cooks, play some more extra Turpin. Or do you turn around and go, well, we're not playing for much here. Let's put Jonathan Mingo out there.
Yeah, as a guy we've actually forgot about, Jonathan
Yeah.
Mingo.
Yeah.
Like make him be worth of that 4th round draft pick. Make him like,
Exactly.
yeah, no, that's a really good point. I would like to see Jonathan Mingo actually contribute to the team. I know he's only been here for a couple of like over a month now.
Yeah.
Like we just for Cowboys fans, we just like it would be nice to have some justification of is he worth that 4th round draft? Because
Yeah.
the last time we did that, we're
It
not
was
even
wasted.
playing we're not even
Yeah.
playing the guy, and the guy obviously we're talking about is Trey Lance. What do we? And that's another question. Like, what the hell do we do with Trey Lance now? Like, is he even worth actually putting on the football field? Is he?
He's done. He's done. No, forget it. Like it was worth a go, I suppose. I was never happy, very vocal about
No,
the idea
I
of that trade.
mean, we were all of us weren't happy. We're
Yeah.
like if you were to trade maybe for a 5th round or 6th round, then yes, but a 4th rounder, no.
No.
Not a fourth rounder.
And like, we don't have a fourth rounder. We didn't have one in the last draft. We're not going to have one in the next draft. But like, you can name some players, right? Fourth round by the Cowboys. Jake Ferguson is a good example.
Yeah.
Tyler Biadasz, Tony Pollard, Jabril Cox, who showed potential before the ACL injury.
Yeah.
These are all guys who were fourth round picks that have made or are making major contributions to what the Cowboys did. And you're just going to just flash past that and go, and Trey Lance, nothing.
Well, in fairness to Jabril Cox, it's unfortunate what happened with him. Like,
It was.
Because that was the guy I was most excited for to really, like, I could not believe that we drafted him, and it just never materialized. But again, it just all shows like not all draft picks work out. But the majority of the time, when we do draft, especially in those third and fourth rounds, they become big contributors to the team a lot.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's killer. But I mean, going back to the Eagles preview, you're talking about the wide receivers. The issue is no Trayvon Diggs, no Amani Oruwariye. So you got Deron Bland, Jordan Lewis. I mean, he's something different. But I prefer to keep Lewis in the slot. If you're going to play him on the outside, fine. If you've got to, then let's do it. So now you go, well, what's the answer on the outside? And the answer on the outside to replace Ali Head. Yeah, I know. It's not.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
You can say his name.
Andrew Booth. I mean, I'm sure he's a really nice guy and stuff like that, but from what we've seen so far of him, it's not really been particularly positive. Let's be honest.
I mean, we're not talking about Booth the person. We're only talking about what we're seeing, the product on the field, and the product on the field of Booth is bad. I mean, I would say,
I hope he steps up. I really does. Like, if he has a great game against like AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, then great, fantastic. I am over the moon. Again, if there's nothing more that we love here in the World's team, it's actually eating some humble pie. We love to be,
very true.
We really do. Like, we love to be and that's the whole point of being fans. Like, we like to be proven wrong. Like, because like obviously we don't know everything. We don't know it all. End of the day, we're just fans from all across the world supporting the Dallas Cowboys fans. But again, it's like, like you just want that little surprise element from players where you never seen before. So, okay, this is something. This is something that we can work with, something that we can actually take forward. But so far, we haven't really seen that from Booth. He didn't really have any good couple of games early on in the season and stuff like that. And obviously, he's been putting on the side. Now he's back in the team again to make way for other players who have been injured and stuff like that. So I just hope he just, I really does actually put on a decent performance against a really good number one wide receiver like AJ Brown. I really do.
He needs it. Otherwise, I will say this.
No, that's a good point. Good point. Yeah, because he needs it, because if he doesn't, no other team is likely going to try and pick him up.
I was just about to say, like, if he doesn't, and that's what you're leaving on film on yourself.
Exactly.
You're done. You're done. Nobody's picking you up.
And yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing for all these other players. And I guess like that's another factor as well. Maybe not so much they're clicking under Mike Zimmer's defense, but they're fighting for contracts next year. They're looking for a spot in the team next year.
Yep.
Because if you're not,
go.
Because if you're not putting in the performances, no other team is going to bat an eyelid and look into you and try and sign you up. That's it. And once that's done, Mike, that's it. That's pretty much that's your NFL career pretty much over, and you're more than likely to go back to playing like the UFL or something like that.
Yeah, and see, this is my argument that I've been having with various fans about who have argued that they just these players are winning games, which is just hindering their draft stock, and I'm like, well, that's twofold. One, you don't need a high draft pick to get a good player, and two,
exactly.
Yeah, who's going to want to play bad to either not be in the league next year, or if you do and you end up going to another team, they go, well, we've watched you on tape. You're not a $2 million player. You're a $1 million. Who wants to do that? You would never do that yourself to yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So why would these players do that?
And not just that, it's like, and one thing I'm really passionate about is about obviously how the draft generally works, right? I mentioned it before. Just because you've got a higher draft pick does not guarantee you a blue chip player, a star-studded player. We've seen it with quarterbacks. We've seen it with running backs. We've seen it with offensive line. We've seen it with multiple, even like, I mean, take Clowney for example. His best games were in Houston, and any other team he's been with, he's kind of been mediocre. He really has. Like, he's been with Cleveland, he's been with Carolina, he's been all over the place since Houston, and he's never ever managed to refine that form ever again. But when it comes to like quarterbacks, that's all scheme fit. When it comes to wide receivers, again, scheme fit. So, like, I mean, take Quentin Johnson right now. Don't get me wrong, he had a good game last week for the Chargers, but he's not really produced that much since coming into the NFL. Like, and he was one of the top guys from not last year, I think it was the year before, one of the top wide receivers. And this is the guy that we scouted about. So he may be a good fit for us. But in hindsight, if Johnson was available and he was to come to Dallas, just being hypothetical here, but he actually might like reignite his career again because of the scheme fit, for example. But when it comes to like the whole scenario that we're just talking about, it's just like us. Oh yeah, we're maybe 15th overall. It's like, well, look at what all the other teams have done with like the 15th and 14th and 16th picks overall. It's like Kansas City got Patrick Mahomes. You had like other players like if now went to the Hall of Fame. TJ Watt was like number 16 before we picked up
the Cowboys landed CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, exactly. So
we've done it ourselves. We've seen it before. You just have to just take with what you got and go with it.
Yeah. And I think it's like sometimes just absolutely fall into your lap and it's just too good to give it to like miss out on, and you just go and just bite the bullet and go for it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's the whole beauty thing about the NFL draft. It's like every team has their different ways of scouting. They see things differently from other teams. Every scout has their green flags and their red flags compared to different scouts and that as well. So and this is why it's so important for, especially for fans, to kind of like get a base understanding, like look into these college players, see what you like as a player from you want from a player, and does that like, would you like to see that player being in Dallas rather than just following what the so-called experts out there like on the mainstream media are saying? Like the only person I really kind of value out there is Dane Boudler. 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Dane Boudler is without a doubt just how he does it. I have no idea. He like he's very impartial. He does really kind of look at the more general oversight of what the team does need and what he thinks like the characteristics of certain players that do need to come to Dallas, and he thinks this would be a great fit for this team. And you might think, why the hell would drafting a linebacker for? Or for example, then he will explain it in good detail why that may fit, because it's like, one, it fits the system. Two, blah blah blah. Three, XYZ. Like it'll give you all the reasons why, you know.
And I do like Dane. You know, you got to get the beast every year. You just have to.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so obviously this game against the Philadelphia Eagles is going to be at Lincoln Financial Field. A game I'm not particularly looking forward to, because obviously the Eagles are the odds favorite. They are 66% favorites to win this game. They're minus 380 on the money line. It's just one of those ones, isn't it, Mike? Because really, I think the only fit, because when you really think about it, if the Eagles win, obviously they secure the NFC East, so it'll be rubbing salt into the wound as Cowboys fans. So that's something to expect, something to like just brace yourself for going into this game, because the chances of us losing this game is quite likely. And just need to prepare for the onslaught that comes from Eagles fans after this game. So, but if there is some kind of like good races, the game is outside. It's an open air stadium. What could mean for one thing? This could be the last chance. And I trust the wind. This could be the last chance opportunity for Brandon Aubrey to even achieve setting the NFL record for the longest field goal. I've been saying it all year. I think he will do it. But to me, this is the last chance to do it because we're not going to do it at home against the Commanders. It needs to be an open air stadium to do it. And when you look at it, our away record has been quite impressive. We're 5-2 playing away. And when it comes to the Eagles, they're 6-1 at home. So it's quite a tough battle when you really match it up from that perspective. But with the injuries and stuff like that, it's I can see why the odds favorites are on the Eagles right now going into this game.
I'll give you. So I mean, there's also another interesting statistic that Rico Dowdle, if he makes 1,000 yards rushing this season, which he's not that far away from,
he's 903 yards. Yep, 903.
In the next 2 games, he becomes the first undrafted running back in Cowboys history to rush for 1,000 yards. So that could happen in this game.
Potentially. Yeah. I mean, he's I think 97 yards is away from it. 97.
Yeah. So it's not that far away. But I mean, you were talking about the odds. I think the odds are based on when you look at the key matchups. It's Saquon Barkley, who's number 1 rushing in the league, versus the Dallas Cowboys, who are, I think, 5th worst at defending the run. So, okay, you lose Jalen Hurts. You have Kenny Pickett, a backup quarterback who's in. But the key element here is the Eagles' offensive line dominating the Cowboys' offensive line. They do that, Saquon Barkley wins the day. In terms of the other way around, when you look at it, that what do the Cowboys need to do to win? They basically need to find a way to attack in the air themselves. So it's the opposite. If they can get their wide receivers to get in form or on form with Cooper Rush and some what's ironic, you talked about Flournoy. You can see the connection between Cooper Rush and Flournoy for definite, which makes a lot of sense because you think they're backup players, so they're spending a lot of time together.
Yep.
I think that's the key element on the other side. It's all about, can our wide receivers beat their cornerbacks? And the other way around, it's can the Eagles' offensive line beat the Cowboys' defensive line to let Saquon Barkley just run free?
Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. I mean, it's going to be very interesting. Like, you just mentioned Kenny Pickett there, right? And this is something I picked up on at the preseason games earlier this year when we were looking at the Eagles. Like, there was nothing much different compared to Kenny Pickett, what Jalen Hurts was doing. So to me, it feels like an exact replica of a system-style quarterback.
Okay.
Because a lot of things that Pickett was doing, Jalen Hurts was doing, and vice versa. Like, I'm just like, it's like, okay, does that really just like, and I'm not trying to put any, well, actually, I'm going to put some questions to the Eagles fans. Is Jalen Hurts really worth that amount of money putting into a quarterback when Kenny Pickett can do the exact same thing?
Well, they could say the same thing on our side. It'd be like, is Dallas worth all that money when Cooper Rush is doing what he's done this season? And you're like, okay.
2 completely different quarterbacks. We've had to simplify our playbook just to accommodate for Cooper Rush. There's a difference. Whereas Kenny Pickett, like,
I know where you're going. I'm just playing devil's advocate in the question.
I know, but I think the question would ask him is like, what about Trey Lance? Is like, because he has like a carbon copy physically to Dak Prescott. Why is he not doing? I was as well. It's just because obviously there's a mental aspect of difference. But unless we dive into that, we can go in here for hours. But anyway, Mike, it is time for your segment this week of Would You Rather?
Yeah. So the theme for us has been the year is over, so it's out with the old, in with the new year, new Dallas. So my question for you is, next season, you can only re-sign one of these two players. Would you rather sign Osa Odigizua or Jordan Lewis?
Jordan Lewis.
Interesting.
Jordan
Veteran
Lewis.
presence and what he's done.
Yeah, I would bring back Jordan Lewis 100%. Like, don't get me wrong, like Osa has been kind of stalemate for some parts of the season, whereas I feel like with Lewis, he has been a lot more consistent. Like, but he's had more standout games. Like, he's not really put much of a foot wrong in comparison. Where Osa is just like he's been non-existent in some games. Like, it's a tough one in some respect. But if it was me, I would pick Jordan Lewis 100%.
I'm the other way around. I'm the other way. I'd go an Osa. Yeah, I just think finding a very, very good pass rushing 3 tech is really tough to find. You find one, they're like gold dust, stick with them. But I mean, I'm saying that, and I have to speak at the other side of my mouth. Getting a cornerback that creates turnovers is just as difficult to find.
It's hard. Like, it's hard to find these type of players, and again, I think it's more like, especially when we're at the free tech position, I think you can find more of a gem in the free agency and the draft. Like, a really well seasoned vet might cost a hell of a lot cheaper, or our upcoming rookie like might have the same attributes that Osa did and still be a lot cheaper that way. So whereas cornerbacks, I think, are a lot more harder to come by in the draft and free agency. I really do. So I think it's more worthwhile keeping a hold of Jordan Lewis in that regard.
Yeah. All right. There we go. I mean, just before you do anything else, I'll just say, put your ideas or what your comments are on what you would choose in that scenario. Put them in the comments wherever you see the show.
Yeah, and before we do go into the bowl prediction and score prediction, we'll be back in one moment after these messages.
The World's Team Podcast is brought to you by Cowboys Experience. The ultimate Cowboys experience with stadium tours, meet and greets, tailgating, game tickets, and much more. For more information, please go to www.cowboysexperience.com.
Yeah, be sure to go and check out cowboysexperience.com. Use the discount code WorldsTeam2024. But yes, Mike, it is time for the predictions. So this week, what is your bold prediction against the Philadelphia Eagles?
Yep. Okay, I got a good bold prediction this week. I say my bold prediction is Kevontae Turpin scores a receiving touchdown and a kickoff return touchdown.
All right. Okay. I like it. I like it a lot. All right. For me, I am going to go with Ryan Fournoy, who I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for him, going for 60 plus yards and 2 touchdowns.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm going for 2 touchdowns. And obviously, I need to go with my all-time bet. Aubrey breaks the NFL record.
Yeah. That never goes away.
Yep, never. But yeah, so that's the bold predictions, folks. Please leave comments in this video. Let us know who you think is going to be your bold prediction for this week. Who you think is going to stand out in this game. Doesn't necessarily have to be the Cowboys. Is there anyone in the Eagles side that you're particularly worried of? And also, just give us a wee like and subscribe to the channel. It would mean a hell of a lot to us. So, but finally, score prediction time. So, mate, unfortunately, I'm going to say the Cowboys are going to lose. Yeah, obviously, with now Lamb being out. There's going to be a lot of salt rubbed into the win by Eagles fans after this game. So, I'm going to say Eagles 27, Cowboys 18.
Oh, we are incredibly close. I put my score prediction over in it, Blogging Boys. I said the Cowboys lose 28-20.
So we're not far off. We're not
Exactly.
far off. Yeah, but again, folks, send us your score predictions. Like, just leave a wee comment here on this on the video here. And I'm sorry, I'm pure stuttering as hell. I am I'm absolutely shattered, being Christmas time and all.
There you go.
But yes, folks, that is the end of this week's show. Be sure to join us next week as we will recap this game and be doing a preview against the Washington Commanders, and it'll be a bon voyage of the 2024 season. Then after that, me and Mike are going into draft mode,
Yes,
pretty much. And if there's anyone more excited for that, it's Mike. And like I said, like, Mike is needlessly, what I need to say is he's like an encyclopedia of knowledge. He's got spreadsheets, he's got drafts, he's got everything. Like, I'm surprised, like, a PFL or whoever does all the draft stuff have not hired him a job yet. So there we go. But yes, folks, we'll be back next week. But before we do though, please, Mike, please tell everyone where everyone can find you.
You can find me on Twitter, Kenfig Cowboy, Kenfig with a K, Cowboy with a K. And where can I find you, Mr. P?
You can find me at IamPStew on X and Instagram. But yes, folks, we'll be back next week. And like here, as always, it's not just America's team, it is the world's team. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good one, and Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year.
You've been listening to the World's Team Podcast. There's no other team like it in the world. Nothing more electrifying than the Dallas Cowboys. And we're here to prove it. We bring in fan groups from Germany, France, Brazil, the UK, Canada, Japan. We're everywhere, baby. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on Instagram at the.worlds.team. On Twitter at _worlds_team. And on YouTube at the Worlds Team. How about them Cowboys?
And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
See you next time.